Hi, today we'll be talking about section 2.4, writing linear equations. We're going to talk about forms of equations, different forms of equations, writing an equation in slope-intercept form, writing an equation given the slope and the point, writing equations given 2 points, and writing equations if you know a parallel or perpendicular line. This section is actually one of the most popular sections for being tested consistently in ACT, SAT types of tests. You will see this from now until you are done with mathematics when you get through college. So this is a very foundational lesson to understand. Okay, where does slope-intercept come from? So a lot of you have probably seen slope-intercept form, but I just wanted to see if maybe you know where slope came from. So slope, we talk about slope as being the letter M. So M represents slope. Well, like we found last time, we know that slope is rise over run. So that's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if we call this x1 comma y1, and this is x2 comma y2, okay, and we use y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, it would be y minus b over x minus 0. Okay, that's a bad y up there. Let me get rid of that little line. There we go. So this is m equals y minus b over x. So that comes from those 2 points. Notice that b is your y-intercept. So that happens nicely. X is only it's just x on the bottom because we were at a y-intercept. Okay, if we now take this and solve it for y, we will get into slope-intercept form. So this is where slope-intercept form comes from. So remember anytime you have a numerator like this, that's technically in parentheses. And when you're solving for a variable, like we're going to solve for y, you want to do PEMDAS backwards. So the last thing we're going to do is whatever's inside the parentheses to get rid of whatever that is. So we have to get rid of the x first, that means. So we're dividing by x, so how do you get rid of division? You do the inverse, which is multiplication. So it would become, if we multiply this by x and m by x, you get y minus b equals those, because those x's canceled, so we just have y minus b on the right. I just moved it over to the left side. Equals mx. mx. So y minus b equals mx. So to get rid of a minus, we add b, and now we're in slope-intercept form of y equals mx plus b. Okay, where m, again, is the slope, and b, as you can see on that graph there, is the y-intercept. Okay, so if we know we're using the slope-intercept form, which again is y equals mx plus b, all right, let's look at this example. Write an equation in slope-intercept form that has a slope of 3/4 and passes through 0, 4. Well, we talked before, if you ever have a graph, and we're trying to find what's the x value anywhere on our y-axis, well, the x value anywhere along there is equal to 0. Right? So this, because the x value, the first value is 0, we know this is the y-intercept. So this one's really easy. Y equals mx plus b. M is our slope, so m equals 3 over 4. And b, our y-intercept, is equal to 4. So we just take that info and plug it into slope-intercept. So y equals 3 over 4x plus 4. Y equals mx plus b. There's the slope-intercept form of this specific line. Okay, I want you to hit pause and you try, and it's actually a harder one. I've given you the y-intercept, but I didn't give you the slope, so you have to figure out the slope first, so just be careful there. Hit pause. Okay, so we knew from last time, well, that we can find slope between 2 points, which we need. We've got our y-intercept, so we just need to find m. M equals y2, so I'll just make that 10, minus y1 is negative 6, all over negative 4 minus 0. Okay, 10 minus negative 6 is the same thing as 10 plus 6, so that's 16 over negative 4 minus 0 is negative 4. So my slope, m, equals negative 4. Okay, b equals negative 6, because this is my y-intercept. Okay, so now I've got enough info, I can go y equals m, negative 4, x plus b, which would just be a minus 6. So that is the slope-intercept form for that line. Okay, write an equation given slope and 1 point. Okay, it's basically what we kind of just had. We just had we had the y-intercept given, we had to find the slope. So this time we're given the slope, we need to find the y-intercept. Okay, you could graph this and you could use the slope to go backwards. So that's one way you could get to where is your slope. So let me just show you what that would look like if we go over 1, 2, and up 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're at the point there, that's at 2, 3. Okay, we also know that the slope is 1/2, so that means I rise 1 and I run 1, 2. Right, but if I was going backwards, I'd go down 1 over 1, 2 that way. So my y-intercept would be there at 0, 2. So that's one way you can find it. That's not the more common way. The most common way to find this is using slope-intercept form, where we go, okay, well, y equals m is 1/2, x plus b. Okay, we're looking right now for b. So we want to find b. Well, we have an x and we have a y, so let's plug those into the equation. So it would be 3, that's the y value, equals 1/2, x is 2, plus b. Okay, half of 2 is 1, so 3 equals 1 plus b. So subtract 1, or you could just figure out that b must be equal to 2 then. So that's two ways you can do it, and then we just have to write the full equation. Y equals, again the slope was 1/2, x plus b is 2. So that's our answer there. Go ahead and give the next one a shot. Hit pause. Okay, so again, hopefully you wrote it out. Y equals m, which is negative 3, x plus b, and then just substitute in this is x and this is y. So we've got negative 1 equals negative 3 times x is negative 2. So we just substituted those in for x and y, plus b, so that's a negative 1. Negative 1 equals 6 plus b, so if you look at that, b has to be equal to negative 7, or just subtract 6 for both sides. Negative 1 minus 6 is negative 7 equals b. Okay, so we've got our slope, we've got our y-intercept. Y equals m, negative 3, x plus b, b is negative 7, so minus 7. That's our equation in slope-intercept form. Okay, write an equation given 2 points. So this one's a little bit harder. We don't have a slope given, so we need to find a slope first. So if I call this x1, y1, and x2, y2, m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, which equals negative 4 minus negative 9 over 2 minus 4. Okay, so m equals negative 4 minus a negative means plus, so negative 4 plus 9 is 5 over 2 minus 4 is negative 2. So that's my slope. So I have y equals m, my slope, negative 5 halves x plus b. Now, take either point. It doesn't matter which one you take. Just pick a point. We'll test the other one to make sure our equation works. So whichever one you don't use, we'll test. I like 2 and negative 4 just because they're smaller numbers, so I'm going to use those two. So I'll put negative 4, that's my y, equals negative 5 over 2 times x is 2 for that point, plus b. Okay, 2 times 5 halves, well this is really 2 over 1, so those 2's cancel, 5 over 1, or negative 5 over 1 is negative 5, so we get negative 4 equals negative 5 plus b. Alright, if I kind of finish it over here, that would be, we need to add 5 and add 5 to both sides. That was a 5, I promise. 5 minus 4 is 1 equals b. So our equation is y equals negative 5 over 2x plus 1. Okay, to test to see if we're correct, we need to plug in the other point, the 4, negative 9. So is negative 9 equal to, I'll put a question mark there, negative 5 over 2 times x value is 4, which is 4 over 1, plus 1. Okay. Use your fraction multiplication skills. You just multiply straight across. Negative 5 times 4 is equal to negative 20 over 2 plus 1. Negative 20 divided by 2 is negative 10 plus 1. Is that equal to negative 9? Yes, it is. Check, check. Smiley face. Oh, that's a bad smiley face. Sorry. Crooked face, I meant. So hopefully you followed that. Bring questions if you didn't. Okay, next we need to talk about parallel and perpendicular lines. Okay, so if we look at parallel lines means basically they have the same slope. So you can see these nice slope triangles drawn. You can see they both rise 2, run 1, so they both have a slope of 2, which if you look at this, the slope there is 2 and the slope there is 2. Okay, but this one crosses the y-axis at 2, where the blue line crosses the y-axis at negative 1. So you got 2x plus 2 and 2x minus 1. So when you have parallel lines, their slopes are the same. So that just proves their slopes are the same. Okay, the second one, if we look at this first triangle, this one goes, the first slope triangle, sorry. Oh, I don't want that color. Just kidding. I want, there we go. Okay, it goes down 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1, 2, 3. Okay, so down 4 over, so down 4, that's a slope. So this line we'll say is our black line, and that's got a slope of negative 4 over 3, negative 4/3. Okay, these two lines are perpendicular. That means they intersect each other at a 90-degree angle. So let's take a look at the slope of, we'll call this blue line here, the other one. So it rises 3, that's this part of it, like they have it, and it runs 4. So this one has a slope of 3 over 4. Now if you look, how does negative 4/3 compare to 3/4? Well, they are called opposite reciprocals, meaning they're opposite in sign. The first one was negative, the second one was positive, and reciprocal just means you flip a fraction. Okay, so opposite reciprocal. So when you have perpendicular lines, meaning they intersect at a 90-degree angle, their slopes are opposite reciprocals. Okay, well, let's just use an example. Let's say we wanted to find what is the, for this first line drawn here, what would the perpendicular line's slope be for that one? Well, we know that the slope is 2. Okay, so when it's a whole number, always just put it over 1. 2 is equal to 2 over 1. Now it's a fraction, so you can talk about its reciprocal. Okay, so the opposite reciprocal, so for this blue line, it must have a slope then of the opposite reciprocal would be negative 1 over 2. And if we look at this slope triangle that we could draw here, that went down 1 over 2, so negative 1/2 would be that slope. So there's a good example. When you have a slope that isn't already a fraction, just put that integer value over 1, and then you can see its opposite reciprocal a little bit easier. So the last problem, I want you to write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line that passes through the point 3, 7, and is parallel to the line with the equation y equals 3 over 4x minus 5. So go ahead and hit pause and give that a shot. Alright, so hopefully you zeroed in on the important words here. It's really important when you're reading a word problem in math that you you underline what the important information is. So write an equation in slope-intercept form. Well, right now that's the only form we've taught you how to write them in, but it's important to know that, so that's an important piece of information. It passes through 3, 7, I'm going to do a double underline there, and is parallel to the line. Okay, and the outcome here is we're supposed to write an equation. So what am I actually looking for? I put a box around that. That's what I'm actually looking to do. I need to write an equation. So I know I'm not done until I have written an equation. So that's just a little strategy that I use. Whenever I have a word problem, I underline all important information and I box in what the question is actually asking for. So that when I get to the end of my problem, I go back and check. Did I answer the box? Yes, I did. Okay, I can move on. All right. So again, we said that parallel is important. So we know if they're parallel, if you think back, parallel meant they had the same slope. So we know our m value, m equals 3 over 4. Our slope equals 3/4. Okay, so now we can just use y equals m, 3/4, x plus b, and then plug in that 3, 7. So 7 equals 3/4 times 3 over 1. Right? Again, anytime you have an integer value and you want to turn it to a fraction, just put it over 1. Plus b. Okay, so this goes to 7 equals 9 over 4 plus b. Okay, we don't want that 9/4, so we need to subtract it over. 9 over 4 minus 9 over 4. Okay, the problem here is now 7 does not have a denominator of 4. So we need to take 7, we need to multiply it by 4 over 4. Okay, 7 is over 1, so you get 28 over 4. And then to double check that, is 28 divided by 4 equal to 7? Yes, it is. So we're really doing 28 instead of 7 minus 9/4. We're really doing 28 over 4 minus 9/4. We know that's equal to b because those canceled there. Okay, 28 minus 9 is 19 over 4 equals b. So now I can write my equation. Y equals, my slope is 3/4 x. My y-intercept is 19 over 4. It's a plus sign. Okay, we moved quickly through this. You've probably seen this before. So far, this is a lot of review, but this is a huge, important chapter. So if there was anything that you were lost on, make sure you bring in really good questions so we can make sure we get those questions answered in class. Thank you.